Every city has a heartbeat. New York's runs on electricity. The hum of the subway, the blaze of Times Square, the quiet buzz inside 10 million walls. Most people never notice it. Kyro Blaze notices everything. He's 12 years old, lives in a fourth-floor walk-up in Queens, and somewhere between his left palm and his right, he carries enough voltage to light a city block. He doesn't talk about it at school. He doesn't talk about it at home. But on the night this story begins, the city's heartbeat did something it had never done before. It stuttered, and Kyro felt it in his bones before a single light went dark. It started as a low tremor in his fingertips, not pain, more like the feeling of pressing your hand against a speaker when the bass drops. Kyro was at his desk doing homework when every device in his room flickered at once. His lamp, his phone, the little LED strip behind his monitor. All of them dimmed, then surged, then dimmed again. He went to the window across the street. The bodega sign was doing the same thing. Down the block, a traffic light cycled through all three colors simultaneously. He'd seen blackouts before, he'd even caused a few by accident. But this felt different. This felt like something was pulling. He pulled on his jacket, grabbed his backpack, and went out. As Voltage, Kyro had a habit of walking the grid, tracing the underground power lines by feel the way some people follow a scent. The disturbance was coming from below, not the subway level, deeper. He followed it south toward the old industrial stretch near Newtown Creek, where the city's infrastructure gets old and tangled and largely forgotten. The electrical signature he was tracking wasn't random noise. It had a rhythm, almost like breathing. He stopped at a rusted storm-drain grate in the sidewalk and crouched down. The air rising from below was cold, and it smelled faintly of ozone. He dropped in. The maintenance tunnel below was dark, except for the faint bioluminescent glow coming from further down the passage, a blue-white light that pulsed in slow, even intervals. Kyro raised one hand and let a small charge build between his fingers, just enough to see by. That's when he saw the first one. It was pressed flat against the tunnel wall, roughly the size and shape of a large dog, but with a body like a translucent jellyfish draped over a skeleton of crackling energy. It hadn't noticed him yet. Its surface flickered with stolen current. He could see the pattern of a residential circuit running through it like veins. Whatever this thing was, it had been feeding. Kyro had faced a lot of strange things since his powers emerged 2 years ago. Rogue drones, a guy who could compress air into solid shapes, one very bad afternoon involving a magnetized subway car. But he had never seen anything like this. He counted 3 of them in the tunnel, maybe more further back in the dark. They moved slowly, pressing against the conduit pipes that ran along the walls, and every place they touched, the pipes went cold and dark behind them. He understood immediately what the flickering had been. These creatures weren't causing a malfunction. They were eating, systematically, methodically draining current from the grid one section at a time. And they were getting closer to a major junction. He made a decision he would later question. He reached out with his power and sent a small test pulse through the nearest pipe. The creature closest to him reacted instantly. Its whole body flared, not in pain, but in something closer to pleasure. It turned toward the source of the pulse, and for the first time Kyro saw what passed for a face on this thing. No eyes, no mouth, just a dense cluster of receptor tendrils that fanned open like a flower toward the electricity. Toward him. The other 2 turned as well. And somewhere deeper in the tunnel, he heard more of them stirring. He had just rung the dinner bell, and he was dinner. He ran. Not in a full panic. Kyro was trained enough to keep his head, but fast. He sent charges backward as he moved, not to hurt them, but to redirect, to give them something to chase that wasn't him. It bought seconds. The creatures were faster than they looked, flowing through the tunnel like liquid, never quite losing the signal of his bioelectric field. He ducked through a side passage, vaulted a junction box, and came up into a wider maintenance chamber where 4 major conduit lines converged. He stopped. He thought, if these things fed on electricity and his power was electricity, then hitting them directly might just make them stronger. He needed a different approach entirely. He looked at the 4 conduits meeting above him. Thousands of volts running through each one, all of it moving in the same direction, all of it phase synchronized. He had one idea, and it was either very smart or catastrophic. He could reverse the phase on one line, create a destructive interference pattern, a dead zone of canceling current. Not an outage, a null field. A place where electricity effectively ceased to exist. He'd never tried anything that precise before. His power wasn't a scalpel, it was a hammer. But the creatures were already at the passage entrance, and the math didn't leave room for hesitation. He pressed both palms flat against the main conduit and started pushing. The null field took shape around him like a bubble of silence. The hum of the grid vanished. His own power felt distant, muffled, as if he were hearing it through water. The creatures entered the chamber and immediately slowed. Their luminescence dimmed, the receptor tendrils retracted. They moved in tightening circles, disoriented, searching for a signal that wasn't there. Kyro held the field as long as he could, 30 seconds, 40, until the effort started pulling at something deep in his chest. Then he released it all at once in a single directed surge, not into the creatures, but into the wall behind them. The concussive shockwave of returning current knocked them flat. They didn't dissolve, but they retreated, fast, back into the deeper dark. Kyro sat on the tunnel floor for a long moment, hands shaking, ears ringing. Then he climbed back out into the Queen's night and stood on the sidewalk while the city hummed normally around him. The bodega sign was steady. The traffic light was behaving. Nobody on the street had any idea what had just happened 60 feet below their feet. He pulled out his phone and started writing notes, descriptions, behavior patterns, the way the null field had affected them, because they had retreated, not died, and whatever they were, they had come from somewhere, which meant there were more of them, and they would be hungry again. The city's heartbeat was steady for now. Kyro Blaze intended to keep it that way.